If I could give three book recommendations for software engineering from 2024, it's going to be these three for sure. First one is Web Scalability for the Startup Engineer. Second one is RabbitMQ In Depth. The third is Acing the System Design Interview. I'm going to have the full titles and authors in the description. I read these this past year, and they were some of the best software engineering books that I've read in a while. Not only because of the scope of what they all cover, but just how they go about talking about interviews, system design, and also niche technologies, which is RabbitMQ in the context of queues. It's so important and vital that you're able to tell a story in interviews because interviews, like anything else, they're a skill and you have to practice them to get better. And when you talk about system design in an interview, it's very important that you're able to articulate these concepts in a way where it makes sense. You have to be able to describe a system in a way where somebody can visualize what it is you're talking about. If you're not able to connect the dots, your interview is going to suffer and you may not get a job because of it. It's important that you not only read material that helps you prepare for interviews, but you need to understand the terminology and you need to make sure that you're able to at least have a broad understanding of most major components that go into a typical system, right? Because there's going to be pretty much the same components regardless of what system you work in. And those are all going to be found in Acing the System Design Interview and Web Scalability for the Startup Engineer. Those books are phenomenal. They are gonna get you so prepared for an interview, and I think you're gonna be surprised about how much information that you retain after reading these. And the only reason I recommend RabbitMQ In Depth is because I think it's one of those rare books that tells you information that you need to know, and especially in software engineering. A big problem with software engineering books is that they try to cover so much material in such a short amount of time or few pages that it almost gives you too much and you're not able to truly go in depth in a one on one singular topic. RabbitMQ in depth does just what the title says it does. It goes very in depth into RabbitMQ, which is the message broker. It goes into depth, what queues are and why they're useful. It gives you examples. It talks about and breaks down the AMQP protocol, and it talks about information that's hard to find elsewhere, but that's very pertinent to queues and RabbitMQ specifically. Phenomenal book. I would get it this year for sure, and I would definitely get those other two books to help you prepare for studying. But when you're reading those, I found that it's very, very essential that you practice, but practice on video. Because I think that when you go back and watch yourself talk, you're going to notice immediate pitfalls and gaps in, from what you're saying. It's no different than school. When I had to give a presentation for school, I wouldn't just go, just with no practice. I wouldn't just go get up there and just say nonsense and hope for the best. Of course not, because then I wouldn't be doing quality work. I wouldn't be getting ahead. I would practice for weeks and weeks leading up to that presentation. So by the time I got to the presentation, I didn't even have to look at my slides because I memorized the slides, but I knew what I was going to say before the next slide even came up. That's what you have to do. That's what you have to do for success. And it's no different than engineering interviews. Interviews are your chance to talk about what you know. And it's very important that you get that skill down because if you're unable to articulate what you know and tell it in a cohesive story, it's not going to work out well for you because even if you are the best, if you are an absolute expert on so many topics, but you're not able to communicate effectively, you might get overlooked in an interview. You might not get that job offer just because simply you couldn't communicate effectively. And that's just the nature of jobs, and that's certainly the nature of software engineering interviews. And so I found it easiest to set up a camera like this and go through a mock interview with yourself for 45 minutes and talk about everything you know in system design. Go back, rewatch it, and then see when get a notepad, write it down, and write down every area that you get wrong and every area that you missed, or write down every area that you can add additional information in, because you need to make sure that you get this down because it's going to help you. And it's no different than when you're in school. My senior capstone project in school, I had to teach the class for 50 minutes. And in order to do this, I had to not only know the material, but I had to get my presentation together, right? I had to get my slides in order, but I had to just know the material. And so every day after dinner, I would go off and study and just prepare for this and just redo the presentation. And I would do this for weeks and weeks. And come presentation day, I did a good job and I got an A on the presentation and I passed the class. And that's the goal, was to pass the class. No different than in software engineering. You passing the class is you getting a job offer. And that's what you have to do, because it's so vital that you're not hindering yourself from because of your lack of communication. And obviously, it's a skill. When I'm making these videos, I'm stumbling on my words, I'm backtracking, I'm doing all this stuff. But the only way for me to improve is to continue making these videos and talking about system design, software engineering, and all the things that go along with it. Is it going to be perfect? Of course not. But that's why I'm making these videos, is to hopefully get better and improve. And in system design and software engineering interviews, you have to practice, but you have to practice beyond just doing algorithms and problem solving on leak code and all that stuff, which I think is a good thing, and I think that you should be doing, but that needs to be in conjunction with practicing mock interviews like what you're seeing here. I think there's a number of resources out there where I think pretty sure you can do mock interviews with people. I've never done one of those systems to prepare personally, but I think that would probably be a good resource to do. But I would also just sit down and make a video like this, post it to YouTube if you want, but just practice and then watch yourself backwards. Because I think you'll be surprised when you watch yourself talk, how like you'll pick up on like either bad habits, stumbling on your words, disjointed sentences, and so many other things. When I come back and watch these YouTube videos, like I realize how much just honestly a lot of what I'm saying maybe is not connected or is not cohesive, or I'm not saying all the things that I should be saying, but I would never be aware of that had I not gone back and watched it. You know what I mean? So interviewing is a skill like anything else, and you can get better. You can get very good at them. And I think when you get better at interviewing, it's going to help you become a better programmer. And because I think you're going to be more familiar with all the terminology and all just the core components, you'll be able to describe a queue. You'll be able to describe services. You'll be able to describe all the things that go along with it. And you're able to do that because you prepared and you studied. To be honest with you, you obviously have to study in school to succeed. But I found that in life, the more that I've, been in this career and the number of years that I've passed, I have found that I have to study just as much as when I was in school, if not more, just to maintain my own knowledge, but honestly, just to keep up with the market and just to keep up with all the technological changes that have changed, changes that have changed. You know what I'm saying? All the shifts that have come even from 6 years ago. It's been crazy, and it's not slowing down. It's only getting faster. So I've had to put in more studying myself to keep up with it, and that's what this past year really has been about. Really, a year and a half through this YouTube channel. So it's just about practice, and it's just about improving and getting better. But you can do it, and it's a learnable skill. But it's not. It's challenging, and don't feel discouraged. Like, especially, I remember when I was starting out, I was so bad at interviewing. I was really, really bad, and I just didn't know how to improve. And I didn't read any books. I thought all I needed to know was algorithms and all that stuff. And I just fumbled my way through the discussion parts of interviews. And I wish that I had done this earlier on, because I feel like it would have helped me out. I feel like it would have helped me out. So if if you feel like you're not good at it, don't get discouraged at all. I totally understand. I was there. I know exactly what that feels like. And you can improve. You can improve greatly, and you can get really, really good at this stuff. And so I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic, and I feel like, if we can do anything on this channel to help with this process, let me know, because I want to help people. I want to help people get into this career, because I think that there's a lot of opportunities here. And so let me know if I can help in any way. But again, it just takes time and practice. So just be patient, and I'm really hopeful that all of you can get into this career, and I know everyone can get really, really good at it. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'm real appreciative of all of you. So I'll see you on the next one.